wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
All right, guys. So Mitch is cheating on us right now a bit on another show. We'll be in just a minute, but that's okay because I got my buddy Steve here, and we've got tons and tons of charts to go after. So it's been a wild day yesterday. So first of all, I guess we can start there. What do you think about yesterday's action? Seemed pretty wild.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, the squeeze is always fun. I feel like the boys are due after a couple rough weeks there. I was really impressed by the basing action last week, especially the Friday reversal, and that kind of informed my bias. I've been pounding the table. It's time to have some skin in the game, and it's going well so far. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. So I've got a level here. We'll take a look at, and I want your opinion on too. Just pop that in. Boom. So we're getting right close, and we talked with this a lot yesterday, where I didn't expect, right, because we were talking about in the pre-market when we were around 170 or 570, and I said, well, up here we've got 575, which is the this area right here, and then it's also the AVWAP from all-time highs. So right, the average market participant from all-time highs is there as well. And I'm like, there's no way we're going to hit that today. But over the next week or so, this is the level that I'm going to watch. And then, of course, we just rocketed all day. And if you go into the 30-minute chart, in the pre-market, we are right there. So that is my biggest, I think, trade idea today, is that watching it around that level for maybe the first, I don't know, half hour or so, and see if we get a rejection from there and take a little bit of a short. But what do you think?
I mean, Michael, I don't know if you can see my chart here, but we are definitely on the same page. I've got your exact level right there, and
it's 575.50.
Yes, sir. Give or take a few pennies there, but yeah, it's what I think a lot of us are watching. You have anchored VWAP. I'm watching the 21 EMA. Pretty much the same idea. I figure this is kind of the first chance also with the 200 day. So, we got to see what happens. This is where stout sellers, I could imagine, would step in a little bit. I'm not worried. I think this is very likely going to be the most hated rally since the last time we did this kind of thing, and I think that it'll be kind of some lockout action. So I would not be surprised to see us close over that level. But then again, we play what we see. So I'll be excited to keep an eye on that level too.
Well, and I always like that. And I think it's super interesting that you arrived at the same level through completely different means. So, what this means to me as a quant and someone who, built systems in the hedge fund world and all that, you get enough of those systems looking at the same area and taking action around the same area, then it ends up just, self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever you want to call it, where, right, if everybody's looking at the same zone for their all own unique reasons, then there could be a lot of action there. So I'm with you that I don't think we're going to stop there, but kind of what I'm looking for is just maybe something, like a bit of a rest or a pullback from there, and then defined people at higher prices, right? I think that's kind of the best case scenario. So we pull back a little bit. We digest this level that, again, a lot of people are seeing for a lot of reasons, and then we find buyers in at a higher price, and then we break through. That's what I'm looking for. Is if we could pull back today and then maybe break through tomorrow or in the next couple of days, I think that's kind of best case scenario. Because it's one of those that if everyone's waiting for a pullback, then the pullbacks are usually very shallow and very quick. So, a pullback into these prior highs, there's a big level here, kind of, 574 or so. So that's interesting there as well. So, massive level right here. I think that's going to be kind of the tail of the tape, right? Where, if we can get through that, great. And if we can't, not so much. And someone hopes and dreams saying consumer confidence at 10:30 Eastern.
Something to watch. Yeah, no, Michael, I think you're bringing up a lot of good points. I just want to kind of echo what you're saying. When you have multiple cohorts of traders all coming in and kind of seeing the same thing through different lenses, like you said, that's what confluence is made of, right? So I'm that's very very synonymous with my trading style, where I look for that kind of stacked confidence, and confluence is to take high confidence trades. So for me, there've been some fat pitches on the tape here, and it's been a good week. I'm mostly done with my week already in terms of really looking for alpha. I think what I'm really watching. So first off, I want to mention this is pretty traditional bull market pullback territory, in my opinion. Oh, look who it is.
Hold up. All I gotta say is, guys,
Listen, cheater.
This is all I gotta say. This is all I gotta say for these guys. That's my quant. That's my quant. You're what? That's my quantitative.
You got 2 today. It's a good day. It's a good day.
These are my math specialists, guys. I don't do the work. Come on, man.
So that's why
I call Michael. I call Steve.
You were finding fire gifs gifts. I'm so sorry, for the community.
No lie, I jumped in the studio the exact word of Michael saying quant. So I don't know. It just stuck out to me. I was like, I got to pull the GIF right now.
Good.
Definitely best financial movie ever. It brings
some
laugh into it. It was really well done. Really well done. But
great stuff.
And the acting too. The acting was great also. So you don't get that anymore. I'm gonna have to watch that movie again tonight.
It's about time. You know what? When everybody starts watching financial movies, the euphoria is in the air. So
I hear you guys talking. I have a feel you guys are being a little bullish.
Oh, Mitch is gonna come in bearish. Just wait.
Should I bring it in? Should I bring it in or should I not? Like, you know what I mean? There's always something out there, right? And of course, you know, I found that something, right? So
all right,
here it is.
Have at it. Come in and ruin our parade.
Let's go. So here's a stat from, and you'll like this one. Yeah, you'll give me a little appreciation for it. You ready? This is from the Stock Almanac.
Okay.
Seasonality, right? Bringing seasonality. Over the past 35 years, the Dow Jones have declined 22 times and advanced 13 with the average loss of 0.62. Nothing crazy, but near the end of March. It's the last 3 days of March, or the last 4 trading days could be also. So right now you're looking at that running into it, right? And there's one thing that we need to be thinking about. And I think the caveat...
So the last 3 or 4 days of March on average are down like 1%.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. On average, I'm not calling the bear market. I'm just calling a slowing down of maybe the horses, right? Okay.
No, but that would actually line up, I think, a lot with what me and Steve were saying, that we both arrived at this 575 level. And you remember us joking yesterday, Mitch, that I was like, oh, this is a level that we'll look at in like a week. We didn't think it would get there. But
that's how it is. And remember when we started the turnaround there, I was wondering, and I brought up the conversation of, would it be another V bottom? Mm-hmm. Well, you got your answer, right? That's a V bottom, regardless if it's a dead cat bounce or whatever happens from here on. It's still a V-shaped bottom. That's where I want to get that conversation of whole rounding bottom conversation. Not so bueno. It doesn't happen in the overall market, at least. I don't see it happen often. It's usually like you see on the chart there. You see it multiple times where the stock goes down really fast and then comes up really fast and creates a V shape, not necessarily a U shape, right? And that's something that I just think about, because as swing traders, especially, those are beautiful patterns to kind of get good risk to return on, right? And I think that's what a lot of swing traders are now holding on to. Now they'll just be like, well, as long as we don't, come back and take out lows, we're looking like we're starting to look better, right? So one of the things that I wanted to bring in the statistics, I thought the more important part was not I'm not really the proponent of too much of the 22 times over that kind of thing. That's more for the quants. We'll leave that for you guys. But what I like here is the end of quarter portfolio restructuring, because that's what's playing in here, guys, right? And so there's that restructuring of the portfolio here, is where a lot of managers will lock in any gains and look to establish positions for the next quarter. So this is what we need to be paying attention to more than anything in the market, I think, right now, more than the tariffs, more than Trump talking right now, it's pay attention to the restructuring of the portfolio. Where is the rotation going? Because if we can catch this, like I always talk about, if we can catch sector and industry-wide moves, that's where I've seen the best edge in the market, guys, for retail especially. And that's where I can tell you guys, like, I can trade a strategy today. I'm not going to tell you that is true edge, because until the day that I'm driving the Lambo, that's when I'll tell you it's true edge. Now this, I can tell you it's true edge. Looking for moments like this can really help you gain the next move, right? So I think we need to be really watching, especially like Michael does all the time, where the ETFs, right? Like focusing sector wide, focusing on where the stocks are necessarily actually getting the relative strength. We had a decent day for tech yesterday. I'm not going to say we didn't, but I'm still focused on the industrials and the financials as being the area.
Okay,
and
I'm glad you mentioned that. For me, financials are huge. Sorry to cut you off. I just get so excited.
I think it's important. You jump in, guys, because I think one of the things is I think this is like really important versus like, we can talk about a certain stock today, but this is going to make moves. So what do you guys think about this? Go ahead. Expand. Well,
so XLF, I was looking at the charts this weekend and just really astounded at the relative strength, because I'll be completely honest, at the bottoms, as it's so easy to be, I was not ready to turn bullish until that Friday. So what kind of informed my bias and let me switch bullish when I did see that Friday stick put in that nice bottom wick is that, look at financials. I mean, they're a powerhouse. Look at them off the bottom. We have SPY just testing the 200-day. The financials barely touched it. And now we are testing the 50% retrace of the 52-week high to that pullback low. Now we're through it. That's also a great sign. And SPY still has some room to cook up to like 581 before that comes in. So I've been pounding the table on big banks, JPM and Goldman Sachs in particular. I took a large position off the 200-day, and it's, I think, up like 8%, 7% already. I'm not a genius. It's just the obvious level. Everybody was watching it. It's the first time for systems buyers to who buy off the 200. That's the first time they got a buyable dip since October 2023. So, I mean, here we are 7-8% higher, and things are cooking. So I'm loving what I'm seeing. Another thing that I have in my notes here that I wanted to mention is these are not things you see in a bear market. You don't see financials leading. You don't see the other sector that I'd say is leading are the high beta momentum names. After a 25% pullback like we got on most of them, they are off to the races again. And I mean, heck, how can you be that bearish? I mean, I'm sure you'll give me your reasons, Mitch, but
No, I mean, I'll bring the bear case, right? I know the bear case. The bear case is the consumer confidence and the spending. And we all know that that's what makes up our GDP, right? Like, you can affect tariffs, and that will affect imports, exports. It's going to be an effect, right? Yeah. But it's so small. Like, stop worrying about that. It's more about the spending of our pockets, because if America really stops spending, that's when we've seen the biggest worries ever in the history of financial markets for the United States, is when the spending stops, when the jobs start spiking, unemployment starts spiking. Those are the signs for the big turn into a bear market. If not, I mean, you just stay strong right now. I think you got to continue watching it, and you're hearing it from a bear, right? Like, you'll know when I've completely gone red light in the back here. And I think right now, it's more like I talked with Michael. I felt it too. It was people trying to jump and model what the effects of the trade wars are going to do versus the actual numbers, right? So they're just modeling, and modeling can definitely start pulling back like bigger investment dollars, because in the modeling action tells us to just maybe not be so but overall, like, this is not going to be like a 40% year kind of thing, right? And I think we already were thinking that. Michael brought the numbers in really early in the year about this is the year for the chop, right? So I say we still continue to look for that, right? But pockets of strength, months, maybe like month or 2 months of strength, and a little pullback, months and 2 months of strength, a little pullback. This is going to be the game.
Yeah. Like, again, everyone forgets that this was the last time we had the same administration, the same trade war nonsense, the same bullying of
Mm-hmm.
lower feds. Like, I am shocked everyone is so up in arms, just realizing that like we've seen this before, and this is what I
Yeah,
came into the year
And,
saying is that this
and
is
March, classic time to do it, right? I
yeah,
mean,
it's a March. Bring it on.
I'm starting to focus more and more on seasonality, and it's something that I for a while I listened to it, but I feel like I didn't believe in it. If you can hear me on that, right? And
Mm,
I think that one thing I'm starting to turn more and more is like, especially in moments of uncertainty, why not just move to the quant side and just focus on the seasonality, right? They're using
come on.
years and years, and then just rely on that, because it's like I always say, man, I love the bear side of things. Trust me, when things burn, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Something inside of me is just like, maybe it's the contrarian effect, right? But
No, Mitch, I hear you. It's my toxic trait to love making money when other people are hurting. I don't want other people to hurt, but it feels good to be green on red days. I gotta say.
it's because we know the elevator moves down, right?
Mm,
Like, so it's stair step up, elevator moves down. That's all it is. We know we can make the when we make the cash, it's fast.
oh yeah,
So
Or with COVID, right?
yeah,
Elevator up and elevator down, and then
yeah.
with a lot of
Now,
these,
that was the
right?
biggest. That was the biggest learning lesson of listen to the Fed, right? Don't fight the Fed. If there is ever a learning lesson that will be put in the books, it'll be that one right there. Don't fight the Fed, and that will be the example that comes up, right? Because we found out that the printers could go burr, and they could keep going
oh
burr.
yeah, yeah. I fought the Fed, and the Fed won.
But Michael, I think it's interesting to look to today to see, like, so what can continue to hold in the rotation, right? Where do you guys see it also? I mean, one of the areas I'm seeing is energy just staying hot here. That's a concern for me.
Yeah,
Just overall, if we're going to see inflation spike, we don't want to see XLE above 100 here. Let's
Well,
just be honest.
so the way I'm looking at this is that we're at a major level. We had a big bounce to get here. Like people forget because it was a little bit sloppy, but just from the lows. And this is what got me starting to measure things from the lows, because in like Tesla's like 25% off the lows from when that video of some politician, I guess, was up bashing him, and it just
oh,
now is
geez. Yeah,
25% up. So we're up 5%, and we were up 5% in a few days to get here. So this is a pretty substantial bounce, right?
yeah,
It doesn't look like it because you're looking at it in context of this sell-off, but a 5-6% bounce on the market is pretty big. So the way I look at it is we've got a couple things. So on April 2nd is when all the tariff stuff will happen or won't happen, right? So that we've got that pending deadline come up. We've also bounced a lot, and then we're also up to a key level. So best case scenario, if I just like lay out the absolute bull case, is that we get up to this level, we consolidate here for a couple days. On April 2nd, they go, oh, we struck some kind of deal. It's a week from now. Yeah, we figured out some sort of a deal. They'll either be less than people expected or none at all, or even if they're, I think, like perfectly in line, but there's some sort of messaging of, but we're done, right? We've done these tariffs are permanent. Because I don't think the tariffs matter. I think it's the uncertainty behind the tariffs, the fact that they're up and down. It's like, if you tariff a country, most of these big companies will figure out a way, right? They'll figure out a way around it. They'll get it from another country. They can figure that kind of stuff out. I don't think that's big of a deal. I think it was all the crazy uncertainty of like going from 0% tariffs to 50 and then back to 0 in a single day. Like that's the kind of stuff the market doesn't like. So best case scenario, perfect scenario, we just chill out here for a number of days and we digest this really big level, maybe chop up and down above and below it for a while. Then April 2nd comes along. They go, okay, no, we're done. No tariffs. And the thing just pops through this AVWAP. Because again, I have a system that I've tested breaking through these AVWAPs to the downside. And it's one of my trend following systems, and it works really well. So if we end up getting that type of move, then I think that's best case scenario. Obviously, worst case scenario is we bunk our head on here and then just fall apart entirely, right?
Yeah.
There's the third option of just ripping right through, but I just don't like that as much because you want to see some consolidation. You want to see some rest. I always kind of equate to like a fat guy running up a hill, right? He goes too far, too fast. He's gonna fall back down. It's gonna be a nightmare. So, we need to rest and do some consolidation. I think would be best case scenario. But a very simple trade plan that I'm looking for to kind of add some exposure just to the overall market is by just simply saying, okay, let's buy if we can get on like a weekly basis back through this level, right? So if we close a week up here, and then just put a stop loss down there. And then if you're wrong, you're risking that, 5% or so that it's bounced. And if you're right, we go back to highs, we go through highs. You talked about stats, 75% of the time the market's up. It's not something I want to fight, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make, I don't want to be fighting for that little 25% of the time where the market doesn't go up. But again, I'm with you that, and I've been saying this at the beginning of the year, is that I'm in the chop camp. I don't think we go up. I don't think we go down. I think we're spending the foreseeable future completely and utterly range bound here. So I actually know a buddy of mine who's an options guy. Options Sean. He works with JC, and he runs their option service. And what he's been doing a lot of, and just doing really well, is just selling iron condors around this level and just collecting. He calls it his 25 delta lifestyle, because he looks at the chart and he says, okay, I don't think we're going anywhere for a while. Volatility is still inflated. Let me sell these iron condors, and then make per contract. He's making like $500-600 a week. He's probably, he's obviously doing that with multiple contracts and just walking away. And he's like, I'll get directional with my options when there's some evidence that we have a direction out there. But he's been loving this market all the way back here. He's been absolutely in love with this market, because he's just raking in the premium of the people losing their mind.
Raking it in, baby. Raking it in.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that. We've been doing some iron condor fund too. I think 575 an iron condor printed like a crazy percentage. I was honestly shocked. I'm pretty new to them myself, but I'm following some traders in my community.
Breaking news, guys! Breaking news out there. Breaking news. In desktop metals. A SPAC favorite of mine. I love it. I love it. I want to see this guy's face. It's SPAC favorite of mine.
Oh, no, SPACs.
SPACs
are back.
Hey guys, so what happened here is some news coming in, and I'll give it to Benzinga Pro here, as Delaware Court Chancery rules in favor of desktop metals in litigation against Nano Dimensions. So essentially a merger here. And so it's trading higher after they ordered Nano Dimension to complete the proposed merger. So the completed merger giving it an instant lift here. It's a big pop.
The bio price must be like $450, $5.
It's not a buyout of desktop metals. It's a merger of Nano Dimensions into desktop metals. So I think that's NNDM, and so you'll see the ticker that ticker down there. Man, sometimes I know these tickers, man.
Jeez, you got junk buying junk at this point. Is that the top of the cycle?
This is the key. The key here, guys, is that I'll be as honest as I can be, man. Desktop metals has been surprising one for me to get this cheap. I really wanted, and I was talking to my friend about buying this closer towards $1, because I just felt like it was worth the risk here, even near like $2, something like that. It's worth the risk because there's so many patents that this company owns, and patents are straight, like you can literally grab the money for that. And that's one thing that I'll say about desktop metals. And if we are going into a theme of manufacturing in the United States, desktop metals would be one of my top companies to like bet on. Just because of the ideas that they have. They have a lot of these 3D printing, but we're not talking 3D printing at your house with your little goods. We're talking 3D printing for making cars, right? For making houses, right? Things like that, right? They can cut metal, can cut titanium, right? I think that's the future. Regardless of what it's done now, I mean, let's just be honest. In the long run, we want less people doing stuff and more machine stuff doing it for us, right? And so I think this is one that you just keep in the back of the book. So I'll be watching today to see if it can maybe just do like a quick pullback out the gates here, maybe $3.50, work its way back to 450. I don't need it to go to 5, but hey, interesting name, Desktop Metals.
It's interesting in terms of the thematic stuff that I think is interesting in terms of a Trump regime and a potential move to U.S. manufacturing. I think that steel is a really interesting place to watch too. I've been seeing some risk reversals on names like CLF. Nucor, I believe, did well after dumping off of a pre-released earnings report. Yeah, they're up nicely.
Mentality, man.
That's a kicker. That's quite a kicker candle on Nucor. That's impressive too. So I think that it's a great area to watch. I'm a big fan of X, even though there's the all of the up in the air stuff regarding the deal potentially closing. But
yeah,
I mean, hey, it looks constructive to me, and that's a big old base. So
I would, my personal is just too much for me, headline risk on X, but I'd be looking at Steel Dynamics here. I know Nucor recently got a hit on like they got like a gap down that it just quickly filled the gap. That's a good sign.
They ate it all up.
Right. And so that's a good sign. And it's like a flag, regardless of that gap, like it's just a flag. It's a pretty flag there. Right.
Mitch, one more thing regarding Nucor, CLF, and X, the kind of dynamics of those names, no pun intended, Steel Dynamics. But if the X deal falls through, the primary benefactors, I believe, will be Nucor and CLF, who can get those assets for cheaper if they do break things up. I'm not 100% on that. I haven't been keeping up on the news too closely, but the charts seem to be kind of reflecting that. So I'm kind of watching that theme as well. Yeah. While we're talking commodities, Michael, you mentioned, or I think you both mentioned energy. So that's something I'm watching closely. I think what we could be seeing is a game of chicken playing out, because let's be real. How far can these oil equities go up if oil is trading in this range? I mean, if we're going, and if it's not trading in the range, then the commodity has to go up, right? We're looking at like $120 a barrel oil. And my mind goes, what in the world could happen that would lead to that geopolitically? So I'm more inclined to bet that this rally in energy is just everything floats kind of thing. But I am keeping tabs on that, because that'll be a kind of warning indicator if energy's screaming and shows relative strength.
Yeah, I haven't looked at what are the components of XLE.
ExxonMobil and Chevron comprise like a vast majority of it. So just watch those and you'll see XLE in the chart.
Chevron chart, man. You guys know I've been a proponent of Chevron's chart, how pretty that chart was looking.
It's
I was watching it from pretty much November of last year. I'm just looking at hit 160s. And now we finally made that 165 push yesterday. That's a big move.
Would you mind pulling up my chart real quick for Chevron? Just because it is.
You can do that anytime, right? So you hover over whoever's presenting, just hit remove, and then hover over yours and just hit add to stage. And take it anytime you want, right? We're all friends here. We can share the chart.
We're adults. So I mean, just man, I'm not a massive pattern trader, but the patterns that I really do love are these cup and handles. They are ranked 3 out of like 40 or whatever on Bukowski's pattern trading Bible, and they move an average of 61% if they hit. So this massive cup and handle pattern is really catching my eye. Yeah, this flag break is beautiful on high volume. You can see that fat green stick, and I love to see that, especially through a trend line. So I'm keeping a close eye here. We are seeing a little bloody nose action there. And, I think that's totally normal. I think that's what we want to see, and we want to see consolidation here. And it's tough for me because I want to see the cup and handle break out, but the implications of that are kind of spooky. So it's something I'm keeping tabs on.
Yeah.
One more thing in the commodities name before we get jumping into cash session here. FCX, Dr. Copper. It is screaming, and it is up again, pulling back a little bit pre-market, but still it's holding this level here. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'd like to see a tap on the 200 here. I'm long from right about down here, so feeling pretty good. But that's where my head's at in terms of commodities. What do you guys think?
I think one more name to add in energy space just to keep an eye out, CEG, man. I think it made an insane pullback from like 352. So down to 200, right? I mean, it's retraced 43%. Could be definitely a name that if energy is going to come back, like this could be one of those names that starts ramping back. I'm watching, of course, those nuclear players today. Let's go, guys. Let's have some fun. Market's over. markets open. And NE was one of those names yesterday for me. Did eventually make a nice run to 33 at the end of the day, guys. So I don't know if you guys were able to catch some of that. And maybe if I kept my original position just all day long, I could have stayed in that one. But hey, I took some money at least a little bit yesterday, but that was a good one. NNE. So I'm watching those nuclear plays today. Of course, watching energy, watching the XLI here out the gates, things like that. Will Boeing stay hot? Yesterday, a little pullback day, but I think today has chance to keep going here. Hourly important through that 182, like 50.
Ooh,
yeah, so I was watching Lunar for a short and obviously missed that and just completely fell apart.
Oh, man.
Structure on the hourly, about 4 highs into it, and then just a little peak right into the open there. So maybe a 930 attempt on the way back. I wouldn't mind it if it could come back to 930s or 940s on the VWAP.
Guys, one thing to watch
I was
here.
looking.
Just real quick, one thing to watch here. I'm a big 200 moving average guy, and just for these opening ranges here, when we're overshooting the 200-minute moving average and coming back and tapping it, that's something I'm watching real closely here. That is 575 on the money, right, for SPY. So keep an eye on that. 491.20-ish on Qs. That would be kind of the level I'm watching here for a break point for this opening little range.
Lunar with the wash on them.
Oh man, I love that ticker too. It's so hard to see.
This is why, and this is something we'll talk about a little later, but me and Mitch were talking a little bit yesterday about how eventually automation is going to come in for trade the pool. And I think this strategy I came up with is probably best for that, to automate it. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about intraday swing trades, which is something that I'm going to start to play with as kind of strategy too. Because as you can see with this strategy, kind of drying up a little bit now that there's no earnings. So might be one that it's better just to make your list every day, have a system trade it for you. Because then things like Lunar, there would have been a shot that I would have been able to get that. But yeah, the idea there was, again, just big gap up. So
GE, good push out the gates, guys. Of course, that leads the XLI in holding. So I'm watching that. GE, nice little push. Remember, I talked about 200 last week. Could we take 200? We're at 212 now. GE, man, I'm telling you, the boomers are hating this stock still. And it's crazy because it's making money, man. It's making money. It's because they held the bag and they sold the bag, right? And then that leaves a sour taste in your mouth watching this stock now coming back for, like, you know where this stock is back, guys? This stock is back to 2001.
Really?
Prices from 2001, guys. And I think this takes the high, dude.
Yeah,
I think this takes the high, man. This
the
takes
other thing
the
to consider too
high
is
and all those haters of GE, man.
VIX upticking a little bit here. Let's see how the down test holds. Looks like we're gonna get some little bit of heaviness on the tape.
Yeah, so that's why I'm looking to take a short here. It's right from the setup, right? A big gap above between 1 day and 2 day VWAP.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to just short there if we end up breaking down. And then also here's the 30-minute chart. And that's at 575.50 that we were all talking about. So
yeah,
just seeing if we're going to back off from that level just a little bit.
VIX continuing to uptick, keeping an eye on it.
XLF, nice little push out the gates here. I'm looking for some continuation, but what I see strong out the gates here, XLEs, definitely nice push there. So pretty strong on oil. Could be gush type of day, guys.
Oh, spicy. That's a fun ticker.
I haven't played gush in a long time, and I like the hourly above this high here. 2750s was the hourly resistance. We just broke through that to 2780s. I'm looking for a tap towards 28, pull back closer towards the 60s here. We'll see if we get it. Gushing. There it goes, 2790s. It's a quick one when it moves. Bank of America doing well today, of course. You guys know I was trying to play that yesterday to the upside. It did one of those like fake out in the intraday, and then at the last hour, power hour, came ramping back. Has been moving all up in the pre-market now to 4350s and ripping higher. So financials looking good, guys. Looking good in that space. Remember, talked about how it's such an important area to see the financials and the industrials stronger industrials pushing here too. So we're looking good, even though the SPY is like coming down here. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Can those areas stay strong? Because it could be like kind of tech names that are pulling back here, dragging us, right? And so here you guys got that explanation from the heat map.
FCX with some nice volume trying to push up here into some redness on SPY. So I'm keeping an eye as well.
Ooh,
let's check the heat map there.
Hood with a nice pullback to 49. Looks interesting today, but I'm going to look for a washout here, a move back on the trend line break. Hourly looks pretty good though on Hood.
Looks like there goes SPY. We can see if that holds, but it is through my 200-minute moving average and the 575.
Yeah, so we're flushing here, so that's already right. I'll defend the entry, right? Just looking to take, because DJT again, I'm looking to that's moving to the upside. I'm looking to fade that. Lunar was obviously just a miss, so there's no trade there. And then KBH, I missed that as well. So again, this seems like one of those strategies that is probably going to do great on earnings season and is probably going to do not so great otherwise. So yeah, so focusing more on ETFs and larger names, I think, for my own kind of discretion. So pulling back here. So again, that was a good little short, major level. And again, we'll talk about this a little later, but me and Mitch had a big conversation about, focusing a little bit more on, especially we're going to go for those big flex accounts, and focus a little bit more on slower, more intraday swings, I think is the best way to call it, right? Where you're taking a trade and you're saying, okay, I'm going to hold this one all day. I'm going to try to fine tune an entry. I'm going to put out a stop loss. And then if I'm right, I'll check on it on the close and when I'll get out of the position. And this might be one of those, right? Where, not going to do that right now because I haven't worked on the strategy yet, but one of those, you nail a bit, you take a bit off the table, you hold, right? If you took 300 shares there, you take 200 off the table and you hold 100 and you say, okay, if this thing's going to fade all day, great. If not, I've locked that money in my pocket and I'm just going to kind of let it go.
Yeah, looking for gush pullback here, guys. So I'm trying to get in here around 2750s to 2740s, and it's based on an hourly chart here. Just looking for the pullback there. I might have missed it at the 2760s. You guys heard me say 2760s there. It just was like literally right on it by the time I got to it, and I hate just jumping in. So I was looking for a little dip here into the 50s. At least a little wick down here. Let's see if I can get the fill and look for gush to go higher today. Energy still holding strong. Financials reversed a little bit there back to the 50-23s. So did the industrials there, at least pulling back here. They haven't broken the pre-market low, but watching the SPY pull back there today. Seasonality weakness could be coming in a little bit here, but I think this is more a matter of just trying to tame the bulls here a little bit. Remember, they're not going to make it easy, so just keep your eyes on that action.
Yeah.
So just in case anybody happens to be an FCX with me, I did just trim my my May contracts just on a little pullback there. The premiums actually were holding up really nicely, so I was finger on the trigger, but I still have a core position. I just love trading around those core positions. Makes me feel a lot safer on the drawdowns. Makes me more inclined to buy the dips as opposed to sell the dips. That's always where you want to be, right? So position sizing is important, right, guys? Where you can feel comfortable with actively trading the chart.
Always. That's the number one, guys, because if not, your emotions will get the best of you. DM holding that $4 well there, guys. I'll see if it wants to make a run to 5. It's an interesting name there. It's holding really well on the 372. No pullback yet in gush, so canceling right now.
We have Qs trying to reclaim that 200-minute moving average, keeping an eye on it, still posting top wicks above. I wouldn't be surprised to see that continue and another push down. Just something I'm keeping my eye on. But I really do want to just keep talking about, I want to talk about copper all day. I just want to say that when I see both short dated and longer dated flow, I'm seeing a lot of.
I know we ain't talking copper. You talking copper?
Oh yeah, man. I can't stop. I've got a sickness. But that's a sign of strength in the market to me as well. If the stuff that we need to build the cool stuff is going up, then that implies that growth is good to me.
Yeah, steel dynamics looking interesting on this pullback here, holding in off of the 127 spot. Of course, I would love to be closer to 127 here, but could get back through the high 128. Let's see what happens here. Will steel make a move?
SPY ticking back up. So now we're testing VWAP from the downside. So we'll see if we just rip right through. We got to remember yesterday where we had a little dip off the open and just exploded higher. Or whether or not we're going to continue to have this kind of 575.5 resistance that you can see, right in through here.
Yeah.
And that's my bet currently, is that we're just going to chop around this level for a period of time. So I think there, might be a couple days of action of short when we get to the level, cover when it dips a bit, gets back to the level, right? Just playing that range. Because like Mitch said, they're probably not going to make it a clean breakthrough. They're probably not going to make it a clean rejection from. So that's, again, what Steve mentioned, trading around a position, right? So if you've got a bias that we're going to struggle here, you take a bit when you're at the level, you cover a bit when you move off the level, and so on and so forth over and over again. Just kind of making the spread.
It really, absolutely. It really does. It gives you so much latitude, because it's so easy to just get stuck in a bias, and you could be right and just get cooked for a day or two and have that question, have yourself questioning yourself. And, it's so good for me, at least personally. Any traders that struggle with the mental aspect of this, which is by far the hardest part for me, and I think for most traders. So that's a great tip of advice there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got to remember too, because I looked here at, I know Hope and Dreams there said 10:30 Eastern, but I'm actually seeing at 10 Eastern. These aren't massive numbers, but we have consumer confidence, we got home sales, and Richmond manufacturing all happening at 10 Eastern. So in 18 minutes from now. So, that's one of
our sell. That could be our sell, honestly.
Yeah. So I've taken that trade, and now I'm just kind of I'm going to be watching and analyzing for the rest of until that thing occurs, right? The only trade that's really setting up that's kind of interesting to me again is this DJT potential short, just a gap up, huge gap up, and then just again looking for it to fail and break back through VWAP. But
can we talk about how silly it is that we're talking about? I mean, I don't know, just they're using a crazy Bitcoin brokerage, which totally reverted on their giant burn in what they burned 70% of their holdings in 2021, and they just reissued the 70% right back. It's all so grifty, but hey, if it makes money, it makes money. Who am I to judge?
Yeah, see, I don't. That's where I love my life. I have no idea what the news is. I'm a pure setup based trader. I'm a pure if this then that. If this,
I'm with you.
Right? From a swing trading point of view, especially, right? All I do is wait for the alerts, hit the buttons to come in. And eventually, as I get more gray in my beard, that's probably something that will be fully automated as well. I could do it now. I just feel a little bit like I should see the stocks when they hit the price. But as I get older, I just probably see it, put out the orders and walk away.
So my bias is, I was going to say my bias is still down there. And there you go. Man, look at that smoke stick. So when you have one candle red and it takes 5 candles to make that up, that's not bullish, And then there you go. There's the trend continuing there.
Yeah. So of course now I wish I had held more of that short, but it is what it is. It's a nice little opening trade. And then we kind of wait. We wait until this number. It's one of those that each of these numbers. So I can't figure out how to get back to. I had it here before the economic calendar, and I can't figure out how to get back to it, but that's something I'll figure out.
You're not allowed.
I know they kicked me out. So I'm back on forexfactory.com, and it ranks them red, orange, and yellow.
Michael, you're a systems trader. What you looking at news for, brother? Come on.
Confidence, I'll give you. It's a 3 out of 5. It's a 3 out of 5. It's not an 830 number. Those are usually going to be your 4 out of 5s.
Yeah.
So then,
But
of course,
I'm looking at the fact that there's 3 of them, right? So this is how Forex Factory ranks,
that's
right?
what happens.
Yeah, yellow, no event.
I'll
Red,
tell you
a
the
big
real
deal.
thing. It's the Fed speak, man. It's the Fed speak.
Well,
So
he's
this will be an
done,
important back test for me here. If we
he's
engulf,
done
then we're
gone.
off to the races. If not, then that's gonna inform my bias going into the news for sure. And it looks like we're continuing the downtrend for now, at least. Yep.
Yeah. So
9-minute EMA.
if it was any one of these events, I don't think it would matter too much. But the fact that we're getting 3 numbers, to me, that just screams chop, because you're going to have algo A that's reading the consumer confidence number and making trades, and then algo B that's reading new home sales and making a bunch of trades, and then algo C is reading the Fed one and they're making a bunch of trades. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's just going to be a, what I say last time, it's going to be the 7th or 8th knee-jerk reaction that actually that we need to make a difference on. But until then, right, again, the only thing I'm stocking here really is this this DGT if it gets back under VWAP for just a little bit of a short. Problem is this thing trades so little that the amount of volume that's going on right now is pulling the 2-day VWAP up significantly. And what I'm looking for is a spread, but obviously between the 1-2-day VWAP, because this is the target, and then the high days is stop loss. So it's looking now like it's just less and less of something that could make money. So it might just be one of those one and done trades. I take that SPY off the open and holler there.
Totally. No, yeah, I think you're dead on with the volatility coming in. Michael, me and your bots are going to be dueling here soon, so we'll see who comes out on top. But I think that's a good read for the market. Wow, FCX screaming. It wants higher. That'll happen sometimes when you trim, but that's why you hold the core. So I'm not punching air over here.
No, I like it. I like basic materials today and energy. Those are the 2 areas I'm looking at in financials. Those 3, they're at the top, right? I'm just looking at them to continue. Energy is the one that I'm thinking about. I like Halliburton's pullback there too, so I'm watching that. Bank of America came back to 43.20s, now recovering. XLF just hanging out here on the 9 EMA. 50.25, nice pullback for it to keep holding if it can do that.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah, basing right under VWAP on XLF. So that would be interesting, right? So this is, again, trying to get more into this whole intraday swing stuff, and it would probably be mostly on ETFs, ETFs and mega caps. We've talked about this a lot, but it comes back down. This is yesterday's high, just bases near yesterday's high, chops back and forth. Now it looks like it potentially is breaking through. So if we get through VWAP, that'd be an interesting trade with a stop to the low. And then again, with XLF, you can trade FAS, or you can trade, I think that's even more expensive, but it's going to move twice as much anyway. FAZ is another one. So you could short FAZ, which I think is really cheap. Yeah. So if you're thinking, and again, this is the game plan, if you're thinking that financials are going to move higher or break out here, a short of FAZ, which is a $5.50 stock, on a percentage basis, is going to move 3 times as much as financials, and you can take way more. Yeah, if you want.
This is how you're supposed to use 3x leverage ETFs, right? As opposed to holding them and praying. So yeah, never hold those guys over too many nights. That's for sure.
Long here on Bank of America, trying to use the low today, 43.20. So taking Bank of America here, trying to get it right back up to that 43.50s. Let's see what happens here. It's all going to be about the XLF here. We could still get the downtrend. One of the things I'm watching is the VIX keeps holding that, or the VXX for me keeps holding the 45. But that's not a good sign there. That could be a nice little trend back, but I don't see it too high. Resistance is close, 45.45. So maybe a little slight dip here. We'll see if we get the recovery.
So yeah, we're looking. We got VIX popping higher. We got Qs. They are pushing lower. They're still chopping, of course, but that 200-minute moving average has been a great guide so far. So I'm keeping an eye on that. One sector that I want to keep an eye out, and just I think it's a good time to talk about it while we're pulling back a little here. I think there's a few names in cybersecurity, which I'm really, really excited to watch, particularly Zscaler, but also Okta as well. Okta's got a nice, let me pull that up.
And pop those up, yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, so Okta is a post-earnings gap setup here. Really nice action off the earnings result. There's a key pivot at 91.50. We popped up here, and now we are breaking a flag and trying to push higher. I think this is a really, really nice name to watch. We have a ton of room above. I would be looking for, I think we're going to surge pretty soon here to like 135, 136-ish. Another name that is really exciting for me, I love, oh, not soybeans, get me out of here. Oh, geez, anything but soybeans. All right, here we go.
Out there on Bank of America, 10-cent loss there.
Zscaler, I do feel like, has been putting in an amazing base. They've been doing nothing but crushing earnings, but they've moved nowhere for a long time. I think that cybersecurity is an interesting place to be because you capture the high beta without too much geopolitical risk. If stuff hits the fan, these are names that can provide some cushion to your Robin Hoods and your Oklos and stuff like that. So that's an area I'm watching for sure. We are seeing them green while the rest of my high beta list is a little bit red. So that's something to consider as well. Definitely names that I'm watching pretty closely here. I am seeing Chevron very strong. Look at that. The name we were talking about a little bit earlier. So keeping an eye there. NEXT is another beautiful energy name that's breaking out of a cup and handle here. It's I have a few shares, not enough, but man, they're cooking. Yeah, these are some of the things I'm watching here.
Yeah, should have been looking for that Tesla short today, man. That was a good one out the gate.
Oh man, don't tell me that. I got shares.
Really nice, good. It's extended. It has a tendency of doing it.
One other thing that I think is really important to watch is this ratio chart here, IGV over SMH, which is the software index over the hardware index, chips. And we are seeing a break of trend that's a very defined channel. So I'm watching this. It's consolidating nicely over this. And today it's 1.25% up, which is pretty decent considering, or all things considered, let's say. So this is an area that I'm watching. I would expect software to outperform hardware on this leg up. But if not, then it'll be a learning experience. But that's what the chart's telling me.
Really nice looking chart now, and even the VWAP fade worked on Lunar. So coming right back to VWAP and then rejecting that was a good look there. And I talked 940s, but of course the VWAP trailed the down action, went closer to the 930s. Just a slight pop to 935, right back towards the lows here. You could already be taking some profits. That's not bad.
We have I'm getting some call outs from my boys here. X and SOC are looking relatively strong into weak tape. I love SOC. Wow. We got big strength in copper. So I can't be too bearish, right? I can't be too bearish when copper's doing this. Looks like I trimmed a little early, but that's okay. Woo, power sticks. Love to see it.
Yeah, FCX not looking bad at all. And on the daily, it's trending away from the 9. It's strong right now. Just recovered the 200, using it as support right now, 4174.
Yeah, it's just powering out of this base, this nice double bottom base here. Real pretty. So I'd be looking to take profit more up into 43.30, right about there. That's also a nice big pivot here, a nice volume shelf. So good stuff cooking. Good stuff cooking.
Q's relatively strong to the market here.
Yeah,
which is interesting. Relatively strong with a SPY. Going to the 30-minute chart here. Just interesting. Came back down to this shelf that I put in yesterday, and then we're bouncing from there. So be interesting. I'm watching this one again back through VWAP, stop the low of the day. It might be an interesting little shot to the long side, but I got to remind myself 7 minutes. We've got no numbers that are important, but 3 numbers that are all moderately unimportant. So it's one of those that I don't want to get too giddy before that happens. So
we do have our rally cat in the house, so that is worth noting as well.
Yeah, mine tried to get on Trader TV this morning.
She's a star and she knows it.
Yeah, so, he's a rock star, so you know it.
If you didn't trim FCX here, we are going into ATR daily targets there. It's a good place to take some money off the table if you haven't already. Just throwing that out there. Nice move there. We can't get too greedy. This is a longer term trade over the next couple weeks for me. So I'm just trading around that core position, and hopefully hopefully it'll be like yesterday where they love giving these last half an hour hollow outs of the daily range, put a top wick on the daily candle and then just run it right back up. So often I will be out in the morning session on volume and right back in there at the end of the day if I believe in the trade. So that's what I'll be looking to do again today. It worked really nicely yesterday. I think contracts are up 25% from that close just overnight. And you can do this ad infinitum there, just free money printing.
All
We are
right,
coming
guys.
back into VWAP on SPY, something to watch.
So,
We are through on Qs. Yeah.
Yeah, Q's broke. So there's my long idea on Q's. Again, spending more time, you guys probably notice on the 30-minute chart and just saying, okay, let's zoom out a little bit, slow her down.
Totally. Yeah. Once we're out of this first half an hour, I'll be switching to 10 minutes myself. And then, throughout the day, half an hours are great. Hours are great. Keep an eye on that 4 hour in the daily as well. It's really important to kind of keep your bearings.
Long Halliburton here.
Ooh, spicy. That's a fun name.
I haven't traded that one in a little while. Gush kind of like moved a little bit away from the level that I wanted, and I was like, don't struggle. Just look for the other chart that you're looking at. Halliburton here, looking for a comeback back towards the high, 2606. So not looking too bad here. Coming right off the low of the opening action here. I would like it to hold around 2575s here. Just grabbed a little bit there at the 2578.
Yeah, Qs are inching their way back to highs there. So,
but again, just to throw it out there, took 2 sticks to get down, took 6 sticks to get back there. So I'm keeping an eye.
Yeah, I'm
if
looking
I was
for the VXX to hold 45. If it holds 45 and then makes a rip back up, that's where I'd be a little concerned here. But it's not coming back fast at all. It's it also like kind of deteriorated, right? It's made a couple waves down. So a wave up to resistance can clearly make sense, right? We're not talking that it's just shooting. If it was shooting, it'd be a little bit different. But I think right now you're just seeing a battle right there. Bulls and bears, hourly pullbacks showing up all over the place. That's one thing I'll tell you guys. Hood, hourly long pullback to 48, just recovered. And so now you get those bets that I talk about all the time on the 30-minute chart and the 1 hour chart, where the starting action looked bullish, washed the 1 minute traders, and it comes back to the bigger time frame traders on the hourly support. So if you just focused on the support and looked underneath that where you can risk, where it makes sense, risk to return back to the resistance, that's a trade that I feel can make, a lot of money. You just got to be able to understand what risk and return means down there.
Totally. Wow. FCX out the top of my ATR targets. So, way she goes sometimes. At least I got that core position to keep me happy.
Adding on Halliburton.
Zscaler is really putting in a power stick today. It gapped up and that's flagging beautifully. I'd be looking for continuation through high a day there, and we could target probably another $5 up today is reasonable. We are at ATR targets, but these things look really strong and like they want to go higher. I am hesitant, I think this is a good time to lock in a little bit of profit on leaders like this, just because I do expect a pullback and I love trading around core positions. That's the name of the game today. But maybe I'm just coping because I trimmed early. That's where my head's at.
Even a strong stock like Palantir doing that hourly long pullback to support, going right back up, right? Look for stocks that have that high volume, high beta. But you showed one right there, OKLO, on the radar today for the nuclear names, right? And that's looking good there. Nice hourly long pullback even on that one, right? Look at yesterday's action. Where was the low? 28.58, right around that area, pulling back, recovering right back to the highs. Strong stocks back to support.
Just real quick, SPY still can't clear the VWAP for me. It is a pre-market VWAP, so it's a little different than others, but the general idea applies. So keep an eye on that. 575 is a pivot. 574.90, let's call it.
Yeah, falling back down here. Qs again, very relatively strong to the overall market. So we must be seeing some weakness in some other SPY related sectors. And then just FYI, 1 minute until we get the 3 tiny events that may turn into one large event. So
which will go up? What will go down?
I think
Nobody
it's going to be
knows.
up and then down and then up and then down and then right back where we were when we started. That's my bet.
Are you going to keep track of the seven moves?
Yeah, we'll see. So there they all are.
I'll be watching.
Oh, up. Okay, up first and then down. So nice little spike and retrace there.
And I am adding a little bit to my Tesla long position. Not too much. I'm saving some cash in case we dip back down. But just throwing it out there. I'm not looking too closely at the chart, even, to be honest. It's a swing for me with a small amount of capital that I think can really juice returns here if we get cooking. I think Tesla has a lot of room up to 300. Right. But looks like maybe I should have waited a few minutes there, huh?
Yes,
is what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we do have selling coming in on FCX after that power stick. Totally normal. Totally normal. Oh. Maybe I get to rebuy.
So yeah, we had a little pop there on the Qs, and then a drop immediately after. And we had this little spike up, and then we kind of fell apart there. So, yeah, it's an interesting overall look, right? We came back almost to pre-market highs and then failed from there. So, makes me want to. This is just kind of what I was talking about earlier. Just makes you want to maybe drift a little bit shorter again here on the SPY. Right, this level that we called out yesterday, huge level. And again, when we talk about more the whole intraday swing thing that I'm looking to do is just more of this. Just find major stocks, major indices. I go through 150 charts every night anyway to get a good idea of what's happening in the market. Part of my thinking is might as well just mark up those levels, use alerts to show me things that are at important levels, and then day trade those as if I was going to hold them for days or weeks. Because if it's going to go down for days or weeks, it has to go down for at least one day or up for one day. It's kind of the thinking there. So yeah, SPY hanging out at that level and then just rejected from it. Again, we're still up on the day. It's one of those. That's why another reason that I like longer term charts, just to remind myself that the Qs are still up. The SPY is flat to down. Right? We're still having an okay day. We're just coming in here a little bit. Other area of interest here on the SPY, you can see, as always, I marked the pre-market high and low, but then also here at the 2-day VWAP. If we come into that 2-day VWAP, that and this low, I think might be interesting for a little bit of a short-term bounce anyway, but you could still be digesting this news. Only 2 minutes since it came out, so could be chilling out.
I have some friends who are trying short, targeting 571 today. I'm not necessarily following, but I wouldn't be surprised if that idea does play out.
VXX, guys, VXX taking the jump there, and looks like the down in tech is what I'd be liking to bet on right now. So success looking good as it pops to 23s. So maybe you're looking at NVIDIA. NVIDIA just keeps bleeding here, 119.30s. Meta was strong. Now that's turning around. That's another bad sign there. Apple, probably one of the strongest names out there, but that's even starting to turn around. You're starting to see the leak out there. So just looking around out that, and just it's just one of those trades where it's just on the pullback. The name that was super strong yesterday could be breaking here. Could be a nice trade. AMD.
Oh, AMD's been showing such nice relative strength.
Man, I'm sized into Halliburton, guys. If not, I'd take the AMD short right through the 113, at least for my look right here. It just looks pretty for that cut down through the 113s, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it's also the 2-day VWAP there as well, which is very interesting.
Yeah. It's strong. Look at that move yesterday. That thing just kept lifting. This is why I've mentioned this about AMD before. AMD is that type of stock that it doesn't move, and then when it wakes up, it has momentum moves up, like real long drives. And you got to know which stocks do that, right? Tesla is one of those. 10% day yesterday, right? But then this morning, what does it do? 10% down out the gates almost. So like things like that, you just got to know, right? Like what type of stocks do this so that you can know what type of strategies to go at what stocks sometimes. So
Absolutely.
I'm fully sized in Halliburton here, guys. Looking for the XLE to break 94. That'd be my sign that I'm in the good area. Remember how I like to focus sector and industry wide. So I've been more and more focused when I'm in my play, not stressing so much about that chart. I know my out. I'm still watching the action, but just watching more the sectors, the industries, and waiting for that action to continue using 15 hourly charts on those. Don't even look at shorter time frame on those, because what you're looking for is for sector wide bigger resistance to be broken and then the buying to come in that sector or industry.
No doubt. One other thing I want to throw on the radar, things that are not bullish intraday is precious metals are catching a bid, particularly silver is up 2.5%. So I'm keeping an eye on that. You know, those wily silver traders, they're interesting to watch. But in general, I would like to see assets like Bitcoin and Qs going up if the market is strong today, and I'd like to see some de-risking in gold because you know, gold is a classic risk off, you know, kind of defensive, like flight to safety kind of thing, especially, or at least this past year or so. So keeping tabs. FCX still strong, Q still bouncing here.
Yeah,
Spies
Spy's holding on.
Yeah, it's trying. I think
So-
they might. I think they might shake the tree and kill some of these zero DT puts my friends are buying. So sorry, guys.
Is that the so what? What move are we on now? We had the spike up. We had a little bit of sell off. So this is third
Halfway there, buddy.
move, right? This is why again I'm not interested in a young me maybe, but an old man me. I'm not interested in trading around these news events, right? This is why again I want to automate the kind of scalping strategy I came up with, because right here's DJT that would have worked out great. There's the 2-minute breakdown through VWAP right there, and then came all the way to 2-day VWAP. So that's just a perfect trade from 223.30 down to 22.50, like 70-cent move. Give me 1 or 2 of those a day, automate it. I'm super happy.
Yeah.
And
Nice
then
job.
I want to take my energy and look at these kind of intraday swings, which means wait till the news is done, and then kind of assess a direction that potentially could go all day, and then look to take a trade.
Absolutely. No, I love what you're talking about. I'm really excited to see eventually when we do get the automation rolling out. I mean, man, we're in a cool place. I really do like the platform that we get to talk about. It's there's a lot of cool things cooking. You know, it seems like every week there's something else on the back burner, or on the front burner, I suppose. So it's a good place to be. Glad to be here with you guys.
Right. It's like you were talking about earlier. Everyone says 90% of the time, and I totally agree. The issue with trading is the mental side of things. So, right, come up with a system, test it, have a robot. Right, it's 2025. There's no need to be staring right at a billion different charts and looking to kind of punch entries yourself. Right, just
imagine burning mental capital on the minutia in current year. You know, we have all this tech at our disposal. We should be leveraging it. Absolutely.
well, yeah,
Yep.
that's what
Look at
Yep,
that.
yep.
trading side of things. So
We
nice.
are through VWAP. Let's see if we can hold it.
Yeah.
Still showing sellers here, so I'm not surprised. But you know, we got a little shake and bake as we were expecting. What can you say?
Well, guys, just watching the Halliburton, seeing if I'm going to get the lift off again. No lift off just yet. XLE just hanging out near the VWAP here, looking to see if it's going to recover. 15-minute candle, looking to see if that could stay green here. It opened at 93.60s. So if it could take out 94, the market could go down and oil can go up. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's kind of another reason why I'm in this one. I'm seeing that downside action too. So I'd rather stay in the energy trade right there. But looking around out there to see what's strong. GE tried to make a move towards the high there. It's right near the high towards the 212s. We'll see if it takes out the high. That could be a good sign that XLI is coming back. XLI holding 134. And then the neckline yesterday, 134. It's just holding the neckline. That's not bad.
Yeah, the SPY is look at all the topping tails at VWAP, just rejection, which to me, when I look at that, I say, okay, when and if we finally break through with some momentum, we could certainly rip here. But yeah, we are stuck, right? So this is the Brian Shannon VWAP pinch, right? You got yesterday's VWAP below, you got today's VWAP above, You're just kind of hanging out in that range, and just like most consolidations in markets, is they have to resolve at some point. Just question is when and what direction. And looking at this, even though I do think that this kind of 575 overhead could cap us, I have to bet to the long side. It's one of those things. I'm a technician. I know that trends persist longer than they should, and if trends didn't persist, then there'd be no money to be made in the markets. So, I kind of got to bet to the long side for the longer term chart.
Yeah.
We just might take us a while. We might be hanging out here. There's nothing else. I was just looking. There's nothing else on the docket today at all. So
I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it with the energy trade here. Not looking too bad. And we'll see if I get stuffed here. But yeah, let's go. Let's go. Time to rally. Let me show you guys the chart that I'm watching right now. Of course, it's Halliburton, but I can show you guys different ones in energy, all doing very similar. So I drew this trend line. And I was looking just to see if it could hold, right? Kind of hold that trend on the pullback. It held that trend on the pullback hourly. You can see it really kind of clearly. There's a lot of wicks, but a lot of recovery around the 2750s, and now holding a little bit higher. Now I just needed to see it get back to that wick, right? Take out the highs. XLE, very similar, right? So you're going to see a trend. It goes for the resistance, pulls back to the resistance. So the 15-minute looked pretty on that pullback, back to the 9 EMA, undercut right back to it. Now on 15-minute candle, like I talked about, can it hold 93.60s? Can it take out that high, right? And that would be a good move there. That could be energy going higher. If I take a look at what's leading in the last 5 minutes, it's energies, industrials, and cyclical. So that's not bad to see, but definitely energy a little bit stronger here. Let's see if it takes the move. Halliburton starting to get the move here. Now back to 2580s, looking for this to break towards the 26. I'll sell it into the above the 26 for a good win here if I could get it.
yeah, so the SPY, I don't want to jinx anything. We had 3 minutes to go in this 5-minute candle, but it's I know I shouldn't.
Another one to watch for the
it
bears.
was breaking VWAP and then came right back down as I was talking.
So
you guys, this one I'd watch the 45 right here. I've talked about this one multiple times. If the VXX can hold above 45 right now, I'm not too like whipsaw like upside action coming in. If you see that taken out and it's a quick move towards like 44.80s, that could be a good sign of the big the big rip coming back, right? So I'm just watching that the 15-minute candles are still showing uptrend, higher lows on this VXX.
So let's see. I just want to continue noting the chadness of this 200-minute moving average. It has been an absolute godsend for me to add to my charts, and that is exactly where we've rejected 3 times now today. Okay, let me pop in big screen here. This big fat purple line here. So I was watching it pre-market. It couldn't quite reach it. I said, oh, we popped through it on volume. So that to me is an indicator that we need to prove ourselves, right? First test fail, second test fail, third test fail. We are holding the VWAP. So I think that we have a nice curling action going here. Nice potential fake breakdown here. But it's still so early for me. So I'm really watching this and I want to see power through this. I was a little hesitant to go to be too bullish on this stick because it just wasn't anything notable on volume, So now we are cooking, but let's see how it goes. This is the 4th test, and often 3 is the rule, 4 is a gift, is what a good trader taught me, an OG in the game. Yeah. So I think that's the Tao of trading. I think that's the book. Really good stuff there.
It's a big belief in Japanese, and so they don't like their 4.
Oh yeah. It's not very auspicious.
Yep.
But we'll keep an eye. VIX is pulling back a little bit. It couldn't get a higher high. It couldn't close a higher high over this little pre-market spike. So keeping an eye on FCX, just doing its thing. A very stress-free trade, which is always a sign that I'm doing something right. If I'm not getting sweated out every day, So
yeah, that's
a
big watch. Big watch.
Also on my watch list here, or, as I've been talking about, Zscaler continuing to be incredibly constructive. Okta, I would imagine, is doing something similar. A little bit weaker, but still nice consolidation, relative strength to the market. It never Never tested these swings low or swing lows. I guess we're up on SPY too, so never mind that. But still, something to keep tabs on.
All right, if we do get this big oil move, one of the names that I'm looking at for swing alerts is MPC. The MPC is one of the stocks I love on swing trades, guys. I've made tons of money swinging that stock with even as low as like 10 shares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still a brick wall here at the 200-minute moving average. I think a lot of short-term algos trade on this. I can't confirm, but I sure feel like it after watching it like a hawk for months now at least. So it's a good one to add. My chart's kind of cluttered here, but in general, if I was really going to strip down, it would be VWAP, anchored VWAPs, and this 200-minute.
Which for me, right, a little bit of a contrast. That's usually what my charts look like. Right? I can't process all that information on yours, but I agree with the anchored VWAPs for sure. I think that's been one of the best things for my trading over the last number of years, just hanging out with Brian Shannon and having him show me this stuff. And again, I don't believe anything, so I test everything.
Yeah,
and it just it 100% showed that there's an advantage there. There's something I can point to and say, yeah, I can test this and I can see that yes, this works.
Yeah. There's the VXX move, guys. Look at the VXX now starting to head towards that 45, that VWAP. Yeah. Take a look to see if you get this nice run here. Hood has an interesting setup off the 48. Just watching that out there. Looking around, seeing what's starting to recover. Industrials holding on. GE did make that new high. It held on the top and just made a new high. So that's not a bad sign to see. Of course, that's the leading holding in the XLI. So I'd look to see if the XLI can make a move back to 135. Right now starting to recover. XLE holding in there. Now VIX going down. AMD holding in a little bit. Let's see if Tesla can start coming back a little bit. You need some of these big boys. Meta's the one that I'd look for a 630 rip right now. It's holding the 90 EMA on the 15 pretty. So I'd watch that one. Not a bad stock to look at, guys. Here's the heat map, of course.
Yeah, most tech is up except Palantir and Nvidia. So that's kind of what we want to see. Healthcare is not doing nearly as well. And then finance is actually doing great. Burke,
love to see it.
Anyone who ever doubts this guy, right? Look at that compared. New all-time high. The market's barely able to get going. Just killing it, right? All-time high after all-time high after all-time high. And then what do we got? We got people who thought that was going to be the next Burke. And she still can't get going.
Don't count her out. Don't count her out.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't hear no bell yet.
I'm not wrong. I'm just early.
Didn't drink enough Coke.
Needs more Coke.
Needs more Coca-Cola, man.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. I'm just early over and over and over again forever.
Yeah. VIX holding in there, though. So just be careful there, guys. The VIX holding in there. Didn't break the VWAP.
Finally got some sell volume on copper, too. So that could be a little bit of a hand tip in terms of risk on, risk off. We are seeing, you mentioned Palantir, and I just want to mention it is the top relative strength stock off the bottom. So clearly the momentum trade is still on, but it would make sense if it's leading the way down that we do get a pullback today, in my opinion.
Well, and not to get too nerdy with it, right? It's all about how you define relative strength too, right? If it's just moved the most from the bottom, then couldn't there be an argument for long just high beta?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's why I never utilize relative strength on any sort of percentage basis, just because it's just you end up just getting high beta. High beta is always looking most relative weak and relative strong. So it's one of those things I like. There's a couple different metrics that, again, we're just being nerds about this stuff, but like position and range and normalized. Bollinger Bands are a good one as well because they volatility adjust, things like that. Do a better job, I think, of just measuring that relative strength, relative weakness. But the SPY, just again, this could be it. Now, again, the way I'm looking at this for longer term trades is just the longer we can't get through this high, the more I think that we will kind of reject it. But because we haven't even come back to test it, right? So I would expect a couple tests of this high before things get going. So again, I'm just watching this in the SPY and just seeing all these topping tails into this zone really makes me want to potentially take a little short here.
I kind of like the short here too, honestly. I think that we're just giving up. We've tried this 200-minute moving average 5, 6, 7 times and haven't been able to break through. It seems like we need to reach lower and grab some liquidity below.
Yeah,
that's kind of where my head's at. VIX is holding up, like Mitch has been talking about, and it's probably looking good for his energy trade if all that is considered. Money's got to slosh somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. Of course, energy's been one of those charts that is a longer term chart. Money could have definitely sloshed into there plenty of times. So looking to see if the VXX takes off here, guys. 45.20s, 45.35s, big watch above the 45.40s. Highs been on the day 45.53. So it seems to be holding well. Could still wash towards like the 45.17 before this, but VXX looking good for a little bit of a jump back up here. The one thing I would say is that, of course, don't forget, though, it could just be making the move back towards hourly high. Loves to do that. That's 45.48s, and it hasn't gone through that. So I'd be looking for a little bit of a strong move through this 45.50 first, and then comebacks to that move to try to maybe play the VXX here. We'll see what happens. I'm just trying not to watch Halliburton here too much and watching the XLE to calm myself down here.
Don't watch it all, right? Set out your stop loss, set an alert on a profit target or a moving average or however you're going to manage it.
That's it. So I'm really just watching kind of like the 9 EMA on the 15. The one thing, though, you got to always remember when you're using moving averages, you're going to have some times where it wicks through. The close is what matters a lot. And that's the hardest thing of being able to hold it, right? And being able to handle some of the volatility inside of the stock. So that's what's going on in Halliburton right now. It's testing the volatility. That pressure is on me a little bit. But the idea there is as long as it can hold that 9, or is that the anchor that you have there?
Well, I've got the 9 EMA.
There you go. So you guys see exactly what I'm looking at, right?
I was gonna just show you, right? You got to get yourself a Trading View subscription because, right, just set an alert, say EMA once per bar close, dink, done. Right?
Done. Set it, forget it.
It will alert your phone, your Apple Watch, your smart fridge, your whatever it is, and then just walk away. Yeah, if you've got the right app on your fridge, go right ahead.
Look at GE, guys. Look at GE. That's one stock that doesn't stop here, even though the market's coming down. That's one stock that's been giving me the sign the industrials want to keep coming back. So watch the airlines. The airlines were hot yesterday. UAL, let's see if they start to come back a little bit here. They're struggling right now. They're taking the hit, and that's what's dragging a little bit. So I'm looking at areas that are dragging industries, essentially. GE, Diversified Industrials, not doing too bad there. Looking around to see what else. How's Deere, Cat, those names holding on. Cat made an attempt to break up to the upside. Of course, that was on the radar yesterday for me. We'll see if Cat can make a move today.
One trend I'm noting off of that recent swing low is relative strength sloshing back into SPY over Qs. And I mean, maybe I'm a little quick to say that, but I am noticing. To me, SPY looks a little bit more constructive here. So keeping an eye. I guess we're still higher.
Yeah, and I'm watching this DJT again, right? You can see it came down. The trade triggered perfectly on this one.
Nice.
Sell, and then it came right down to 2-day VWAP, which is what we want. But this 2-day VWAP is also lining up with a big pre-market level here. So if we lose this zone to the downside, for any, right, there's a lot of room here. So I might watch that for another little, right? Stop would probably go above this $23 area. But if we lose that and start to sell off, then again, that could be a really interesting little pop down. And then, right, I think Rumble was the other one. And as you mentioned, the SPY's been looking. Yeah, this looks like junk too. It filled the gap entirely, and now it looks like it's selling. And then you got this, right? The whole SPY thing where this is grinding higher. So we talk about this relative strength, relative weakness all the time. So if just my thought process, if I continue to think that this area is going to act as resistance for some time, I can look at things that aren't participating in this rally. It's the easiest way to denote relative strength and relative weakness, right? You know, we talked about fancy ways you can do it before, but what if the market go up and the stock go down? That's relative weakness, right? So same with the other thing. So as the market's grinding higher here, TJT is looking down. So I'm watching this one for maybe a 2-minute close under the 2-day VWAP for a potential short here.
DJT. Every time I've tried to long that stock, it's been a short. So I'm with you on that. It's one of those where you learn not to keep biting it. And yeah, that one looks like a nice little short back down through the 22, maybe ending the day closer towards like 2150s. See what happens on that. Not a bad looking chart. Just come back into that spot, right?
Yeah.
Wash out all these morning bulls, all these afternoon bulls, get it back down into that spot.
Well, yeah, because if you just look at the chart overall, right, it has this history of gap up and then sell and then gap up and then sell over and over again. So you're just kind of playing that. I'm not expecting a full. This would be one of those things that, you know, I know we talked about before, Mitch, where if you had a good day trade from here, then maybe you say, okay, I'll hold a bit. You know, maybe you took 500 shares short here. And then you say, you know what, I'll hold 100 overnight because, you know, is this gap going to fill over a couple days? Likely, right? This company makes absolutely nothing, right? And just hemorrhages cash. So, you know, it'd be a good one to be short, but it can also do this overnight. It can gap quite a bit. So it'd be one of those that you'd have to feel kind of confident that you've locked in a pretty substantial profit and say, okay, now, you know, of my 500 shares, I got 100 left, and I'll just let that one kind of move from there.
Nice.
Big watch for me, that VXX for a big cut down through the 45. You're seeing it right now. It's making that attempt. I think SPY's doing what I call a trend line approach, right? Where if you drew a trend line in the morning's action around like 9:10, that bring you back somewhere around like, let's say 575.80s here. So I'm watching to see if you get to 576 as an area of like, okay, well, maybe we attempt this actual up move here and it holds. So we'll see if it does that. I draw these all the time. I do them in my mind. I don't need to draw them anymore, but you know, I look for these sometimes. So like when stocks are going in on that panic move down, I start looking, okay, if the bounce comes back, where is that trend line approach, right? Because a lot of times stocks like to make 3 times to that trend line approach, then go for that big break in either direction, right? It doesn't mean that it needs to be up or it needs to be down, right? So I'd be looking to see what happens if we could get like one more little spike and seeing if we get a quick down wash again to support. That's more the concerning action versus a little bit of a tweak above that trend line could be where we can start to hold here. Big part of this is if you look at the sectors, they're not going anywhere. They're just hanging on hourly supports. And so what I'm watching there is, hey, could be that day where they try to just shake a lot of it before the bigger rotation gets put in towards the end of the month, right? So keep your eyes on that, guys. If the stock started going nowhere, a lot of times it's going to be hard to trade, right? Essentially, the SPY, where has it gone today, guys? Opened at what? What's our opening price here? I got 575.32. We're at 575.34.
What a mover! We got a whole cent there.
I'm glad I got some buddies to talk to. Otherwise, my eyes would be glazing over here.
No, that just shows you. And another thing is, I know a lot of day traders that say maybe don't even trade if the market's not moving a full %, right? And some people say that all the time because the truth is, if the market doesn't move, it's hard to make money. That's just the truth of the matter, guys. So we'll see what happens here. Can we get a lift? Can we get
it's
a
like
move?
my buddy I mentioned with the VIX mentality, right? The you know, he looks at the value of the VIX, right? So if we go to do the VIX, we can do the real daddy here on I just bit the bullet and I paid for futures data, right? So we got a VIX of 17. Right? It really not an elevated VIX at all.
Yeah.
So in this case, he'd be saying, okay, well, I'm a swing trader at this point. I'm not going to look at the stocks from day to day.
Yeah.
I think he used 20 for his line of when he's even going to potentially take a trade in the markets from a day trading point of view, and then using, I think, 25 as his, okay, it's time to be very, very aggressive, potentially to the long side, in order to make those trades. Is that so? He would look at this, he'd say VIX 17, play my swing trades and go golf.
I love this because VIX regimes are so important to me. These kind of larger ranges, like 20 to 24 for me is what you were discussing. Under that is where I'm looking for swings as well. Yeah. And then you can you can play a lot more aggressively in terms of just keeping the pedal in the metal. The further down we go, a 14 is a nice handle as well to watch. That's when you can really get some momentum trades that just keep going, and everybody's like, "Why is this still going? Why is Palantir still going?" Mm-hmm. Well, the VIX is low and the risk is on, so let's or risk on, I should say.
I really like hard, fast rules like that because, as we know, and as I found out with this strategy that was doing great, and now I'm getting maybe a trade a day on it.
Here's interesting just to take note on Palantir trade here. I'm not saying take this. I know that Michael's working on strategies like this. So of course the 15 and 30 minute support 96 there, right? You've seen what, 1, 2, 3, 4 wicks through that 96. We talk about liquidity levels and things like that, right? Wicks through that, not closes through that. So about that 96 being that level of risk here now, and then looking to see if Palantir can come back to the resistance. You could do 97.50, or you could even do up to 98, right? That's good risk to return. That's what the important part is of that trade, is how much am I going to be risking for the return there? And doesn't look too bad there. At least a buck, a little bit over $1 from even right around where you're at right now.
A few things here. Check private chat real quick in the lobby, guys. But also, so we are over pre-market highs on Qs, and we are not yet on SPY. So
sorry, I've been in full screen mode and didn't realize we had a resident that wanted to pop in here. Our resident from our Discord side of things. What's going on, Tim? How you doing, man?
How's it going?
Well, I'm here to bring the apparently the contrary view maybe on Rumble. So, but the problem is I am a fanboy. So, I always lecture our traders about letting your
Rumble. Are we shorting it?
Product bias, your ideological bias, your country bias. Anything. But
absolutely.
But I will say, and the funny thing is, I went and looked at my chart the second after you said that, Michael, and then I was like, pshaw, and then I went and looked again. I'm like, oh, that's looking a little worse. But it was looking to me like it could be just a potential. Where's that?
XX's taking a little spike,
and I've got quite a bit of fruit salad going on here. But once if this breaks here, this is kind of a key level. I do the channels.
You could say this is like a throwback look. It broke out and now it's back testing.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But they have the. I did look at the. I don't know. I looked a little bit at the actual earnings report. I don't know if you did. And of course, we've got just macro stuff intervening too, right? So that's what's tough is. But the interesting thing was they had just a huge loss relative to estimates and everything else. So they had where did that go? I had this a second ago. Revenue, so 236.8 million compared to a loss of 29.3 million. I think per share it was negative $1.18 versus estimated 29 cents loss per share. But oh wow, what is Walmart doing, by the way? Why is Walmart getting
it's
so hard? I mean, Target's following a little now, but man,
we got a big pop here. We got Q sweeping pre-market highs and SPY failing to do so. A trader
never broke VWAP.
This market is only Nvidia all the time. You know that.
We also have a big spot here, so something to keep in mind here. If you were biased short, this might be the time to take the stab. If we can lose that 200-minute moving average and engulf the stick from 1027, that's what I'm watching there.
I don't know.
Talking
sorry,
The
into it.
ES futures, it doesn't. It looks. That looks. I think we hold it. If I had to guess. But the interesting thing was this was actually all, and I've got to dig in to learn what this is, right? The change in fair value of derivative expense related to Tether's strategic investment in Rumble. So I don't know if this is a paper thing. It doesn't sound like it's related to warrants. I don't know, like derivatives, like I don't know what that is. But it's interesting, right? So it has nothing to do with their core business. It's just they got some investment and then that, is tying into a loss. The other thing is they barely grew. Q4, go ahead.
I think this was also a part of their March 12th printout of the Bitcoin. So I don't know if many people remember that. I think too many people today weren't even bringing that up. They don't know about the March 12th PR about the Bitcoin. And I think that was an important thing that played into this earnings. So sometimes you got to
they
look
have Bitcoin. Yeah, they approved a 20 million Bitcoin investment, right? So
XLI going strong
I thought
again,
you were
guys.
here to paint the bull case. So far, you said they're losing a $250 million a quarter in a 5% interest rate environment. So why would I
buying
invest in
Bitcoin?
He said they're not growing and they're losing a $250 million a
GE
quarter.
ripping, guys. GE strong. GE strong.
So they have. I am
to the point where I'm about to get out of my Halliburton.
But yeah, I mean, I'm bullish long term, like not even necessarily medium term, although I feel decent about it. But intraday, they're in 25 minutes. The CEO is going to do the conference call. He's going to answer questions, and then following that, he's going to do a thing on Matt Core's channel. So I suspect, depending on what he says, that could pop or flop, right? But
he's not coming on here, Tim? Why is he not coming on here, man? Come on.
I'll work on that, honestly. And by the way, for fellow Rumble enjoyers, we do have a Rumble channel, so
guys,
make sure you
seeing
subscribe
some strength
to
out there, guys.
on there.
Yeah, definitely.
But 68 million subscriber or monthly active users in Q4 compared to 68 million compared to 67 million, right? Which is basically nothing. Ooh. But the interesting thing is that 52 million were based in US and Canada versus 43 million. So they basically kept the same overall global users, but the percentage of US and Canada jumped up, which is kind of, which is to be expected with the election. So, and I'd be curious to see if, that was due to basically political stuff. If, global users are pulling back a little bit or whatever. They've got a decent set of like gaming and other content, but they do have a, large contingent of political content. So I'd love to dig into that as well. But, yeah, so I mean, you can certainly paint a bear case as well, but I think like just looking at the EPS is going to be a little bit deceptive potentially, or not tell the full story.
So I guess
here we have potentially the catch. So we'll see. I did add on a little bit.
So what is the bull case, I guess, at that point? So if they're losing, they're not growing and they're losing money. So and again, I've never used it. I have no idea, right, as a Canadian, like what even is on there. But if you're losing that much money in a 5% interest rate environment and you're not growing, then do they have a game? Like, have they spilled out this is how we're going to get profitable? Because I think if interest rates remain this high,
their revenue is all the average revenue per user is also climbing. And again, I mean, I'm a fanboy, but I'm not necessarily here to preach it. I'm just calling out the things that don't show up in the just EPS number, right? But it's basically just, it's your standard. Oh, this is interesting. They put this is new, this big one on the front thing, but it's your standard video. Yep, here we go. Best show on the site, by the way, guys.
Oh, there we are. Look at that.
You got your stuff. So there is a good, so their big claim to fame now is basically it's like very little censorship compared to especially YouTube, and also very little algorithmic interference. So like if I go to my feed, I see the people that I subscribe to, which is great.
Question is that good for business is my only question, because it seems like
maybe the algorithm is so they're also pushing the premium. They're working on the gaming program. They have who's it, Dr. Disrespect. I don't know who that is, but apparently that's a name.
They're collecting all of the YouTube.
Dude,
runoff.
you know Rumble, but you don't know Twitch? Come on, Tim.
Come on, man. Real quick,
I only know my friend Jay. He's the only Twitcher that I watch.
Real quick here, guys. We did sweep highs on SPY. I'm watching closely here on decent volume too.
Man, doesn't stop.
And FCX is setting up really nicely, breaking out of a little 1 minute pennant here. You know, I love my 1 minute charts. Michael's rolling his eyes, I'm sure, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Here's a 10-second. Here's a 10-second chart. By the way, I just want to.
Good day for traders, man. Good day for traders. Let's go.
Rumble's climbing. I do plan to trim some before the show start, or before the call starts, obviously, and then before the show starts as well.
I like it. I like the idea. I like to buy the rumor, sell the news on this, guys. Off of the 8, good cut there. Inverse head and shoulders there on the 15, recovering. Could go for the 850 run there on Rumble. Yep. I like it. You brought in the trade and didn't even notice you brought in the trade, my friend.
Now, GME, I am short them as well, partly just because it looked like it was potentially right shoulder there. They've got earnings tonight, so it'd be kind of funny if it just sells off into earnings. But that's also a much smaller. It's actually about the same exposure wise, but I think relatively it hedges my other thing. I've got quite a few less shares on there. And then Sava is the other thing I want to call out. So they announced, this is kind of known, right? But their main drug, Semafilab, whatever it is, that's
no. I need you to pronounce that right. Come on.
All right, hold on. I'll get the. I'll actually get the thing. But it's for, I think, Alzheimer's. I don't know. But if you watch Martin Shkreli, he's been making fun of him for a long time. And the true believers,
he made a killing off that short, didn't he?
Yeah, great.
The true believers are just, of course, mocking him. Oh, you don't know what it, but
flowers for Shkreli.
So they just finally shared results.
He was on it.
Yeah, Semufillam in mild to moderate Alzheimer's. Top line data indicate that Refocus ALZ did not meet each of the pre-specified co-primary, secondary, and exploratory endpoints. Program will be completely discontinued by the end of Q2 25, which is not really news, but at the same time now it's official, and it dropped, but it's still there's another leg down there, I think so.
Tim, do you remember me,
man? Who's rumbling?
Do you remember me pounding the table in agreement with Shkreli, and then I ran out of time on my options? So sometimes...
well, hey, that's where a trade the pool swing account can. If you're good enough with your sizing that you don't blow up on some of those crazy swings, then you can. No option expiration and no margin interest on your positions on trade the pool. So.
Very nice. Absolutely. Nice. It brings to mind the lesson that knowledge is volatility dampening, right? Everybody was watching that. Everybody had those October 20 puts just like me, and they just ran out the clock on us before the move happened. So not to be too conspiratorial, but it's funny how that often plays out.
Well, that's the problem, right? Is that it's the obvious trade is obvious, right? So sometimes it's counter to, and I think this environment is also right, like especially where we're going into triple witching, right? We're going into the OPEX, we're going into, it's just and I got beat up the same way as everyone else on that. But
I want to call out really quickly, Amazon showing really nice relative strength and continuation through the 200-day moving average. That's a beauty. I think
for Amazon, you said the 200. I think that's so full disclosure, I own some. Okay. Right, that's the price, because if you remember, $200 is where Bezos was unloading all of his shares. Right, and it's weird if you go to the daily chart here. I'll grab it on.
SPY holding well. Meta takeoff, guys. I talked about it early. Meta takeoff to the upside.
This chart pattern on Amazon was so weird, and this was Bezos. Right?
Dude, I was long there and I was selling some into it, but it caught me flat-footed too. I mean, Bezos, that was the most hated sell in my server. We were like, this is insane. Tim, you remember that?
That was a while ago, but yeah.
It was. But I remember.
It's been a big level, this 200. So I bought some of this yesterday, and that's my game plan. Is I'm just playing the 200 level. If we're above 200 in Amazon, we're probably looking good, because I think people have like PTSD around this level, and they want to make sure they're not buying something that one of the richest men out there are selling.
Bezos needed to fund the piggy bank for his latest sports team or whatever the heck it was. I don't even remember. But it's also speaking of auspiciousness, the 200-day moving average lining up with 200. I don't know. Something's in the air. Just saying.
Yeah.
Something's in the air.
Well, Target, where is Target? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, Target's nowhere near the. I wonder if that 140, 141 level is finally dead on Target. Like,
dude,
Target seems like it's in dire straits. I don't know what's up there.
Target's dead, my friend. I tried to be in that camp with you too, Tim, but just Target's is dead, man.
I was short Target I've been long and short.
It's going to be one of those stores where you'll just scratch your head, but on the opposite side. So Dillard's is the bull version of that for me, and this is the Target's the bear version of that. Yeah, who goes to Dillard's anymore? But look at the chart.
In malls, who goes to malls?
But look at DDS. You literally just scratch your head. How the heck is this 370?
Mitch, has anybody been keeping tabs on DRI? They're Olive Garden and other things. I don't know who goes to Olive Garden, but apparently people are going to Olive Garden because that chart is a powerhouse.
That unlimited combo is still killer. Soup, salad, breadsticks. Everything else is a ripoff, but that's
big bet here, guys. Big bet that is looking around. I'm seeing Meta just lift off now. That's definitely the big boy that's lifting here. But Microsoft not looking too bad. Apple not looking too bad. VXX is still on that hourly high though, right off of that, the VXX. So just another bet that I could maybe see, like, just interesting. Like, how is that at the top yet? We're still getting the SPY and the Qs starting to grind up to the upside there. That's interesting to see. VXX going up and the market's going up there. Very rare divergence there.
Right. We got a game of chicken on our hands. Who's going to win? And I got to say, this grind up, while it looks good on the 1 minute, it makes me a little sus. We swept the highs. Can we keep going? I'm seeing a little bit of rounding action on Qs. Again, I'm not going short. I was wrong. Is what it is. Wrong so far. But I am hesitant to get too bullish intraday, but despite being quite bullish on where we finish the week type basis or month.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we are seeing a little bit of a bloody nose on SPY. I'm watching to see watching for continuation there. FCX broke its pennant and is flagging tightly over that, so I'm keeping an eye on that too. I like the relative strength. That informs my bias that this pullback will be just that if it does materialize. But like Michael and me have been saying, this is a really key level to watch, and it would not surprise me at all to see some oscillation above and below it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for another. Right, if we reject from here again, use a 5-minute chart or something. If we get back under this 575.50, I think that will be a trade for me. Look at, again, talking about these intraday swings. Reminding myself I'm no good at the whole scalping thing, right? And then intraday swings. I think that's a pretty easy play, right? You take your short under that zone, you put a stop loss at the high of the day. You sprinkle out some profit targets, right, and in throughout, and hold a chunk till the end of the day, and kind of move on, right? Do the whole market making thing. That's my game plan anyway. If we end up rejecting here.
So one thing I think, Michael, you should think about, and especially as a swing trader, using the mentality of what I like to do sometimes is just, so the day traders usually are out by 10:30, right? So from between 10 to 11, I think it's prime time to determine a trend type of trade like that, right? Where you're just like, at this point, I've seen enough of the market where I can take a bet on the trend for the day, right? And then essentially just riding that trend to seeing if it can continue for the day. There's certain times where it's not going to work and you're going to get cut out, but just keep the risk small or break even, right? And then when it does work, it should go far. You should be able to get 5, 6 rewards, right? Not just, 1 or 2, right? And I think that's the mentality there. Maybe even expanding to a 6-to-1 outlook, right? So then you don't even need to be that accurate, and you're just taking shots based off of that. And you don't need to complicate things. You could just use, like, let's say SPXL or like the TQQQ or the SQQQ, right? Something like that. You don't need to complicate it, right? You can just use the index themselves, or you could use like maybe a top name ETF or something like that. But I think these are definitely bets to be had, and it's to be had around this time. Like right around, to me, there's a sweet spot between 10:30 and 11 before the lunch algorithms take over and actually drive the trend. And after the day traders essentially are leaving after 10:30.
Yeah, you get that drop off. Absolutely.
Well, and this was, this conversation was started just because, right, if you're seeing above, right, unlimited trading period, right, this is what changes it. Because I think you hit the nail on the head for this kind of setup. Essentially what you're doing. So let's say, what I was talking about comes to fruition, right? We break back down this 575. I could right now set up in Trader Evolution a stop loss order that would get me into there, and then it would have a stop at the high of the day, and I could automate that whole process right now. I could just set out those orders and walk away. Right? I always talk about that is alerts are the easiest form of automation, and then using stop limits and resting orders in the market is kind of step two. But I think the real thing that you talked about, Mitch, that's super important is that you're not going to be very accurate doing this, and you have to be okay with that, right? But what's going to happen is every now and then I'm going to put on a trade like that. I'm going to go walk the dog and do some other stuff and then check back on the account in a couple hours from now, and the market's going to have gone from up 3% to down, or up 0.3% to down like 1% or 2%. And the 2 or 3 of those will allow you to pass an account, assuming you're doing your risk properly, and then you have a large account to do that. But that's, I think, the biggest thing, that if you're going to be doing these intraday swings, you got to understand that most of the time the market's range bound. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to pick a couple ETFs, maybe a couple stocks a day that are sitting at important levels. You're taking these kind of long-term bets, and you're just playing the fact that if I'm right, I'm going to make a whole lot of money. I'm just not going to be right very often. I'm probably going to bat like a 30% win rate with this strategy, is the way I look at it. But in the long run, like with most trend following things, you're doing the 80-20 rule, the Playbook principle, or whatever you want to call it. You're just trying to give me a couple a month that I just knock into the park, and that makes your month, right?
Absolutely. And I think
having the patience in the meantime.
I think it's so important to, and you don't get this on most shows. I will say that you won't get the transparency and honesty, because it really is a tough game, and it's not about being right all the time. It's about really pushing your edge and really making that money and striking when the iron is hot. So I love everything you're saying. I couldn't agree more. Wow, look at that on SPY. Looks like we're not quite done yet.
And just to reiterate, right, this is something that I wouldn't even entertain before we just launched these new unlimited programs, because before, when you have a limited time to trade, you have to come up with something that's going to give you some amount of consistent profits, because you have a period of time to make that. But now what I'm thinking about is, right, you can get a 200K of buying power and have an unlimited time to pass that. So if you come up with a strategy like this, even with a super low win rate, but really, really good risk reward, you no longer have to be in the scalping mindset, because what if, I 2 months goes by and I essentially just break even because I haven't hit that out of the head. And then the next month I get, a couple good trends throughout the day, and end up making really good money. That ends up being, the ticket. And again, something you can do with this that you can't do anywhere else. And then again, because you're not scalping, the time commitment is way lower, right? You're just
another trade just for the mentality. I love bringing them like back to back at you, right? Because then you really start seeing them. Look at the VXX right now on a 15-minute chart. This is an interesting chart just based on the fact of, hey, if maybe you're like thinking, okay, maybe the rally is coming back for the rest of the day. This is a bet within itself. Look at those wicks. Look to the left-hand side. That's the hourly resistance that I've been mentioning about the 45, 48. You can just round it to 45.50, right? So what these give you is good risk to return levels. That's what you're always looking for in the game of, I want to take bigger kind of reward to the risk. That's where I like to do these similar strategy for penny stocks, but thinking in the mentality of smaller size, right? That's the key with these two. You're going to have to do smaller size, willing to get out at certain moments, but when it works for you, it brings you good return, right? That's why I like the 100 share size for like these penny stocks, because there's certain times, yes, you're going to lose 30, 40, 50, $60. But when you win big on these penny stocks, a lot of the times they go, $3, $4, $5 of the time up. So it's 500 on the upside, right? So
Mitch, I don't want to cut you off, but I am seeing something here. I'm seeing
What you
something
got?
cooking. Well, I mean, on that chart there on VXX, we are seeing the push up on SPY and indices. We are seeing the bloody nose, that little fake push. We'll see if it's fake. But to me, this is looking like a potential area where I would be looking to short. And it is an area where, I mean, I'm especially seeing on Qs just that rounding that I was talking about earlier failed to push higher. So if we can break that low from about 10 minutes ago, we could get a nice move down here back to VWAP at the very least.
There's a divergence here, right? Divergence. We've noted it. VXX going up, SPY going up, Q's going up. Which one's going to break first, right?
Yeah.
Russell,
Yeah.
Russell break first right now.
Yeah.
I will say on that topic though, and we were discussing something really similar, Michael, in our trading journey discussion series on the Discord, Mondays at lunchtimes, by the way. But yeah, we were talking a little bit about that, and the discipline is what's key. Like, you have to be able to be disciplined, especially if you're going to pony up for the sort of higher price challenges there, because it's one thing to say, you know what, I've got all the time in the world, I've got no time pressure, but like, number one, do you have no time pressure at all, or do you have time pressure of bills, rent that you're planning to make this work for, right? And then number two, even if it's truly no pressure, right? Even if you're independently wealthy, just trying to just do this or whatever, like it's very easy to get caught up in it and just start drilling after it. And then the day after you blow it up, or the day after you get in one of those situations where it's hard to maneuver, like, it's always the way it happens. The day after that is when you're going to see a beautiful trade that if you just focused on just keeping it steady, not losing capital, you could have grabbed that and ridden it, and it would have been amazing. So,
well, Tim, the only thing I got to say to that, and I'll respond for Michael, that's my quant. That's my quant. That's my quantitative. That's my math specialist. I think he'll do all right, man. We'll be all right there.
Well, no, well, yeah, but with Tim, what you're really highlighting.
No, it's not a criticism. I'm just saying more in general. Like, if you're gonna take that on, like, you want to make sure you're.
I'm sorry. Tim, I had that gift there. I had to.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
No, I think it's great because a lot of people, they say things like, "Oh, I want to be a trend follower," but then they don't understand that people who are trend followers and purely trend followers, that it's a hard game because you do have that mega low win rate. You know, I spoke with Jerry Parker at one of the CMT conferences. For those who don't know, he's one of the original turtle traders, like multi-billionaire, massive hedge fund. He's been in the game for 50 some odd years and has smoked the market pretty much every year. And he talks about it the same way. He's like, listen, I'm right 30% of the time. So you have to have that kind of glutton for punishment of you have to come in and you got to be able to trade small, and you got to hit that button every time, knowing that 37 out of 10 times you hit the button, you're going to get slapped.
Yep. But just to break in real quick, the Russell is breaking that little channel low here. So
I'm seeing the short.
Small caps in general, probably.
Yeah. I'm seeing the short across the board for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, right? And again, this would be the game plan for a larger account, because it's probably, you're right, Mitch, probably going to happen around this time of day, right? So you observe the open, and you kind of get a feel of what's happening in the market. And then, around, 10:30 Eastern, you say, okay, now let me, hopefully you bring 5-6 ideas that you've heavily researched overnight, and let me set out the orders for those 5-6 ideas, and then just let them go. Because we are going to fade here, which is my bet, just based off, again, we talked about this a lot on the open, this massive level. You could break lows of the day, and then now you're talking the risk.
I don't think we do. I think we look like we do, and I mean, I have index puts, so it would need a lot for them to print at this point, but I don't know. Somehow I think we keep just pushing up, but we'll see.
I think one of the things that's important there is you have both bets. You're going to have both bets, essentially. That's what we're looking for, right? So the market is a lot of a fast action kind of wheel at first, right? Mm-hmm. Let that hamster wheel start slowing down a little bit, right? And then make your bets. That's what we're pretty much also saying along here, where a lot of traders, and I've thought about this in the past, just for you traders to get something in your mind. I've thought about at certain times, like, why do I even come here at 8 in the morning, right? Why do I come here at 6 in the morning looking at all this? Maybe I should just show up at 10 o'clock and just start taking assessments of what's actually happening in the market versus what's being talked about before the market, right?
And it's
something to be thinking about.
Yeah, just on that, one of the best day traders I know doesn't trade the open, only trades the close.
I don't trade the open.
Completely sleeps through. He's on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So he's getting up, he's doing whatever, he's sitting down at kind of like what we talked about at I think 1-ish Eastern, right? The starting of the end of the lunchtime. And then from that moment, he's going, okay, well, now let me look at what happened today and let me go through everything and then let me make some bets, and then goes and comes back for the close. And he's very, very consistent. And yeah, it's one of those, you have to get over the FOMO of the fact that you're missing the insane moves that happen on the open. But if you're okay with that, it's a much smoother way to live. And then the benefit is, again, with a place like Trade the Pool, is because you can get access to so much buying power, you shouldn't feel the need to catch every little tick, right? Because you can get tons and tons of buying power that you can then go and do kind of whatever you want with. So it'd be okay if you just came in. If you think about it, if you came in, you were able to make 30 to 50 cents on some of these large cap stocks every day. Perfect world, obviously, would never happen that you do it every day. But if on average you could do that, well, with the large account, that ends up being great money. You don't need to catch the 3x move on a little tiny stock, right?
Right. No, one of my favorite trading quotes is I made my fortune buying late and selling early. You don't need to catch the whole move. You gotta just take the high confidence setup. It will, or you bat for the momentum trade, like we were talking about trend following. I think really it comes down to learning about yourself and knowing yourself as a trader. And for me, I'm just not a breakout trader. I used to be, and it kind of crushed my morale, to be honest. Some people can handle that 30% win rate and stay in the pocket and keep their eyes on the prize. For me, I like mean reversion. I like fading these highs. I'm also a contrarian, so that kind of fits with my nature in that sense. So, that's what I've learned about myself, and that's what I kind of try to take into any given trading day. Because for me, the FOMO is strong, so I sleep in, I watch the markets, I don't chase on a good day, But I really do think it's about learning about yourself. I think this is you are your biggest enemy in trading.
Your rumble off the 810s doesn't look too bad there, Tim. We'll see if he gets the lift there.
I was actually starting to get a little worried. It was starting to just go red there for a second, but it looks like it's
and watch
still,
that 15-minute 9, that 15-minute 9 holding above VWAP, and you got a couple attempts there to the trend line. Big break needs to happen now above that. The last 15-minute high, 828, going to the 830 spot is what you'd pretty much be looking for on the tape. Watch for heavy selling in the 830s, but if you can get through that 830, 850s can come pretty quickly there on Rumble. The Rumble.
Mitch, I know we're at time here. Do you mind if I just
yeah, we got to get out of here. But yeah, just final comment. Steve gets to end the show. What are you going to give us the wisdom from Justy Trades?
I want 100% winner. Go.
100% winner. Okay. Well, I'm seeing a lot of flow on MU puts. I think they failed the top of the range, failed the 200 on earnings, no less. So I think targeting 95 with room down to 90 is a pretty safe bet for a downside hedge. That's what I'd be looking at. I'm also watching this BA flow continue to pile in, and I'm watching FCX just being a trooper here. So those are my focus lists there.
All right. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Hit the like. You can't get enough.